I funded my stepdaughter's lavish life. Then she erased me from her wedding, so I canceled everything and left them begging. 17 years. That's how long I was with Lisa. We met when I was in my late 30s, doing well for myself after years of grinding in my career. I'd finally hit a point where I could relax and enjoy the fruits of my hard work. Then Lisa walked into my life, a single mom with a young daughter, Erica, who was about 9 years old at the time. Lisa was smart, funny, and had this charm that made me think she just needed a break. Little did I know, I'd be handing out breaks left and right while they just took advantage. When we first got together, I didn't mind stepping up. Erica needed a bike? Done. Lisa wanted to finish school? I covered her tuition. I didn't think of it as buying their affection, but as a way to help out. I figured if I was going to be with Lisa, I couldn't ignore Erica. If anything, I thought maybe I could be a positive influence in her life. As time went on, I ended up doing way more than I ever signed up for: private school for Erica, paid for extracurriculars, new laptops every couple of years, and trips with her classmates, all on me. When Erica wanted a special designer prom dress that cost more than my first car, I didn't bat an eye. I thought, why not? After all, I was building something with Lisa and Erica, and I wanted them to have the best. The thing is, it never felt like I was part of the family. Erica was polite, sure, but distant. She'd give me that fake smile when I handed her a gift, then head off to her room without so much as a thank you. Lisa would brush it off, saying, "Teenagers are just like that." But it started to wear on me. Still, I figured it would get better as Erica got older. By the time Erica was in college, I was paying over $90,000 for her private school education. Lisa said it was an investment in her future, and I agreed. I wanted Erica to have opportunities I never had. When she graduated last year, I even surprised her with a brand new Mercedes-Benz Glee. Black, sleek, fully loaded. Erica was thrilled, giving me the first genuine hug I'd gotten from her in years. For a moment, I thought, maybe I'm finally getting through to her. Fast forward to now. Erica's engaged to some guy named Brian. He's decent enough, I guess. He works in finance, comes from a well-off family, and seems to genuinely care about her. Lisa was over the moon about the engagement, constantly gushing about how Erica was set for life. She kept saying things like, "Brian's such a good match for her. He's so stable." The wedding planning started almost immediately, and Lisa was treating it like the event of the century. We're talking a vineyard venue, a custom menu, a live string quartet, the works. The guest list was pushing 350, and every detail screamed luxury. Naturally, I was footing the bill. Why? Because I could afford it, and I wanted Erica to have her dream wedding, or so I thought. Little things started to nag at me during the planning. Erica and Lisa would have these planning sessions where I wasn't invited. "It's just girl stuff," Lisa would say, waving me off. When I suggested inviting a few of my close friends, Lisa gave me this look and said, "The guest list is already so tight." Tight? There were 350 people on that list, but apparently there wasn't room for people who'd been in my corner for decades. Let's talk about Greg. This guy is the definition of a deadbeat. If there were a hall of fame for absentee dads, his face would be front and center. I've been with Lisa for 17 years, and in all that time, I can count on one hand how many times Greg has shown up for Erica. And let's be clear, when I say shown up, I don't mean he came through in any meaningful way. No, I'm talking about the kind of appearances where he rolls in, drops a few half-assed compliments, and then vanishes before the dishes are clean. The thing that gets me, though, is how Erica sees him. To her, Greg is some kind of superhero. When she was younger, she'd run to the door yelling, "Dad's here!" like he was Santa Claus. Meanwhile, I was the one who'd been there every single day, making sure she had everything she needed. I don't know what fairy tale she's telling herself, but the reality is Greg hasn't contributed a single cent to her life. No child support, no birthday presents, not even a lousy card. One time, Lisa told me Greg had a rough patch after the divorce. Apparently, the poor guy needed space to figure things out. Space? He didn't need space. He needed a job and a clue. But Lisa, being Lisa, never pushed him. She made excuses for him like it was her part-time job. He's still her dad, she'd say, as if that gave him a free pass to do absolutely nothing. What really gets under my skin is how Greg shows up just enough to keep Erica on the hook. He's not completely out of the picture. Oh no, that would make too much sense. Instead, he breezes in a couple of times a year, just often enough to keep the cool dad image alive. He'll take Erica out for dinner at some mid-tier chain restaurant, give her some vague advice about life, and then disappear for months. And every time, Erica comes back beaming, like she just spent a weekend with Oprah. And don't even get me started on Lisa's role in all this. She's always made sure Greg had a seat at the table, figuratively and literally. One time, he called to say he wanted to see Erica. This was after a solid year of radio silence, mind you. Lisa practically rolled out the red carpet for him. She cooked this big dinner, made sure Erica was all dressed up, and even asked me to step out for the evening so they could have family time. I'll admit, that one stung. But I played along because I didn't want to be the bad guy. I figured if Erica needed Greg in her life, I wasn't going to stand in the way. I thought I was being the bigger person. In hindsight, I was just being a sucker. The thing is, Greg doesn't even try to pretend he's involved. He's not showing up at Erica's school events or helping her move into her college dorm. He didn't chip in for her tuition, books, or anything else. But somehow, he gets to waltz into her life and be dad, while I'm just what, the guy who pays for everything? The glorified babysitter? It's insulting. One time, I tried to bring this up with Lisa. I told her, it feels like I'm doing all the heavy lifting while Greg gets all the praise. She gave me this tired look, like she'd heard it all before, and said, "You're overthinking it. Erica loves you. Greg's just Greg." What does that even mean? Greg's just Greg, is that supposed to justify his complete lack of effort? I let it go because arguing with Lisa about Greg is like trying to teach a fish to ride a bike. Pointless. Oh, and now the wedding. When Erica announced she was engaged, I was genuinely happy for her. I thought, this is my chance to really be a part of something special. The worst part was the wedding invitation. When they arrived, I opened mine, expecting to see my name somewhere, anywhere. But nope, there it was in black and white, Greg Reynolds, father of the bride. Not a mention of me. I didn't even get a footnote. It was like I didn't exist. I thought about confronting Erica about it, but honestly, what would be the point? She'd just tell me it was a mistake, or that it wasn't a big deal. But it was a big deal. It was a huge deal. I've spent the better part of 2 decades trying to be a good stepdad, only to be completely erased when it mattered most. And Greg? Oh, he was loving every second of it. I caught him grinning like the cat that ate the canary when Lisa mentioned the father-daughter dance. I wanted to wipe that smug look off his face, but I kept my cool, barely. At this point, it's not even about the money. I don't care about the tens of thousands I've spent on Erica's life. I care about the principle. It's not fair, and it's not right. Then comes the night when everything changed. It was a Friday night. I organized this fancy dinner at one of the most exclusive restaurants in town. I spared no expense. Private dining room, a custom menu with dishes I can't even pronounce, and personalized service for all of us. I figured, this is a celebration of Erica's wedding, and I'm happy to do it for the family. Little did I know this dinner would be the final nail in the coffin. Everyone was there. Lisa, Erica, Greg, Erica's fiancé Brian, and Brian's parents, Linda and Robert. To me, it was a way of showing support and goodwill. I wanted everyone to feel like part of a team, like we were all coming together for Erica's big day. I was still clinging to this naive idea that I was part of the family. Big mistake. The night started off fine, or at least I thought so. The drinks were flowing. I don't drink, but everyone else was enjoying it. The food looked incredible, and the mood seemed light. Brian's parents were polite, making small talk about the wedding plans and how lovely the vineyard venue was. Erica was glowing, talking about her dress fittings and flower arrangements. Greg was sitting there like he owned the place, leaning back in his chair with that smug look I've grown to hate. I tried to keep things light, chatting with Brian about his work in finance and asking Linda and Robert about their travel plans for the summer. Lisa was doing her usual thing, hovering around Greg, making sure he had everything he needed and acting like he was some kind of very important person. I brushed it off because, honestly, I just wanted the night to go smoothly. Then Erica stood up. She clinked her glass, signaling she wanted to make a toast. I sat back, expecting some heartfelt words about family and gratitude. Instead, she said, "I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. This is such a special time for me and Brian, and I'm so lucky to have all of you in my life." Okay, not a bad start. I was waiting for her to say something about me, maybe a nod to the guy paying for everything. But no, she turned to Greg and said, "I'm especially grateful to my dad. He's been my rock, and I'm so excited that he'll be walking me down the aisle." The table erupted in applause. Greg leaned back, smirking like he'd just been handed the keys to the city. Lisa was clapping and smiling like she just witnessed a miracle. Even Brian's parents were nodding along, like this was some heartwarming family moment. Meanwhile, I sat there in stunned silence, gripping my fork so tight I thought it might snap. I don't even know how to describe what I was feeling. Betrayed, angry, humiliated, probably all of the above. Here I was, hosting this lavish dinner, paying for every last detail of Erica's wedding, and this is how I get treated? Like I'm invisible? When the applause died down, I stood up. I wasn't planning to make a scene, but I couldn't just sit there and take it. I raised my glass and said, "Well, if Greg is walking you down the aisle, then Greg can pay for the wedding. I'm out." You could have heard a pin drop. The look on Erica's face was priceless. Her jaw literally dropped. Lisa looked like she'd just seen a ghost. Brian froze mid-sip, and his parents exchanged awkward glances. Greg, for the first time all night, wasn't smirking. He looked like someone had yanked the rug out from under him. I didn't wait for anyone to respond. I set my glass down, threw my napkin on the table, and walked out. I could feel everyone's eyes on me as I left, but I didn't care. I'd had enough. When I got home, I sat down in the living room, trying to process what had just happened. 17 years of bending over backward for Lisa and Erica, and this is what it came to. They didn't just take me for granted, they outright disrespected me. Greg, the guy who's done nothing for Erica her entire life, gets to be the star while I'm treated like an afterthought. It was infuriating. Lisa came home about an hour later. I heard her keys jangling in the door, and I braced myself for the inevitable confrontation. Sure enough, she stormed into the living room, her face red with anger. "What the hell was that?" she demanded. I looked at her, completely calm, and said, "That was me finally standing up for myself." "You embarrassed Erica in front of everyone," she shot back. "You couldn't have picked a worse time to make a scene." "A scene?" I laughed bitterly. The scene was Erica thanking Greg for being her rock while I sat there like a damn fool. "And you let this happen." Lisa rolled her eyes. "Oh, stop being so dramatic. Greg's her father. This is what she wants." "And what about what I want, Lisa? Does that matter, or am I just the guy who pays for everything?" She didn't have an answer for that. Instead, she turned the argument around, accusing me of ruining Erica's big day and making it all about myself. I just shook my head. There was no point in arguing with her. She didn't get it, and she never would. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let them use me anymore. After that Friday night dinner fiasco, I woke up the next morning feeling oddly calm. Maybe it was the kind of calm that comes with clarity. I wasn't stewing over it, wasn't second-guessing myself. I just knew exactly what needed to be done. If Greg wanted to play the role of dad so badly, he could have the whole package. Let him handle the stress, the logistics, and, most importantly, the checkbook. I was officially out. The first thing I did was sit down at my computer and log into the joint account Lisa and I shared. I moved every cent I had put in for Erica's wedding into my personal account. Not going to lie, it felt good. I even double-checked to make sure everything was secure. Lisa didn't work, hadn't for years, and I wasn't about to let her siphon off money for a wedding I was no longer funding. Next, I grabbed my phone and started making calls. First up was the caterer. I'd hired this high-end catering company. The food alone was costing me close to $20,000. I explained the situation to the manager, something about unforeseen circumstances. I didn't feel like airing my dirty laundry to a stranger. Surprisingly, they were cool about it. Since the wedding was still a few months away, they agreed to cancel without any penalties. Full refund. One down, many more to go. Then there was the venue. This was the big one. Beautiful place, sure, but also ridiculously expensive. I think the deposit alone was around $10,000. When I called, the event coordinator sounded annoyed, like I'd personally ruined her day by canceling. She explained that the deposit was non-refundable, which I already knew. Fine, keep your $10,000. It was worth losing that chunk of change to get out of this mess. While I was on hold with the venue, I glanced at my car keys sitting on the counter and had an idea. Erica's Mercedes. I'd given her that car after she graduated college, thinking it was a nice gesture for all her hard work. In reality, she'd barely passed, and I'd probably spent more time arranging her graduation party than she spent studying. But whatever, I bought her the car because I thought it would make her happy. Now, though, that car was mine. It was in my name, and there was no way I was letting her keep it after everything that happened. I logged onto a car-selling app and posted it right then and there. Within a few hours, I had a buyer lined up. By the end of the week, the Mercedes was gone, and I had an extra $50,000 in my pocket. You know what? It felt great. After the venue, I called the photographer. This was another expensive booking because Erica and Lisa insisted on hiring some award-winning artist who didn't just take photos but captured memories, whatever that means. The guy was surprisingly understanding. He even said he had a wait list of couples who'd been hoping to snag my date, so he was happy to refund the deposit. I spent the rest of the day going down the list of vendors, the florist, the band, the cake designer. Every phone call was another small victory. Most of them were polite, a few were annoyed, but I didn't care. By the end of the day, I'd clawed back nearly $30,000. Sure, I lost a few deposits along the way, but considering how much the whole wedding was going to cost, it was a small price to pay for my peace of mind. While I was handling all this, Lisa was suspiciously quiet. She knew I was upset after the dinner, but I don't think she realized just how serious I was. She didn't ask me what I was doing or where I was going, which was unusual for her. Normally, she was all up in my business, but now, radio silence. I think she assumed I'd cool down after a day or two, and things would go back to normal. By the time Lisa finally confronted me, I was already halfway through dismantling Erica's dream wedding. She found me sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of papers, contracts, receipts, and bank statements. "What's all this?" she asked, her voice sharp. "I'm canceling the wedding," I said without looking up. Her jaw practically hit the floor. "You're what?" "You heard me," I said, finally meeting her eyes. "I'm not paying for a wedding where I'm treated like an outsider. If Greg wants to be the big man, let him step up for once." She stared at me, speechless for a moment. I thought she might start crying, but then her face hardened. "You can't just do this. Erica's counting on you." "Is she?" I shot back, because from where I'm sitting, it seems like she's counting on Greg. Lisa started to argue, throwing out every excuse in the book. "You're overreacting," she said. "This is about Erica's happiness, not you. You're being selfish." Selfish. That word hit me like a slap in the face. I'd spent many years putting their needs ahead of my own, giving them everything they wanted without asking for much in return. And now, when I finally stood up for myself, I was the selfish one? I stood up, towering over her. Selfish? Let me tell you what selfish looks like. Selfish is erasing me from Erica's life while I pay for everything. Selfish is letting Greg waltz in and take credit for things he didn't do. If you think I'm selfish, maybe you should take a good look in the mirror. Lisa stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. I could hear her pacing upstairs, probably calling Erica to vent about how unreasonable I was being. Let them complain. I didn't care anymore. The next morning, I woke up early, poured myself a cup of coffee, and went back to work. I called the string quartet and canceled their booking. They were disappointed but polite, and I got most of my money back. I emailed the company making the custom wedding invitations and told them to stop production. They hadn't printed anything yet, so they refunded the full amount. By the time I was done, the wedding was essentially dismantled. No venue, no caterer, no band, no cake, and no Mercedes sitting in Erica's driveway. It was like the wedding had never existed, and honestly, it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Lisa didn't say much after that. She spent most of her time in the guest room, avoiding me. Erica started blowing up my phone with texts, accusing me of ruining her life. I didn't respond to any of them. I was done being their doormat, and I wasn't about to apologize for taking back control of my own life. When the last vendor confirmed the cancellation, I closed my laptop and leaned back in my chair, feeling something I hadn't felt in years: peace. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't being pulled in 100 different directions. I wasn't trying to make everyone happy at my own expense. I was finally free. You'd think after canceling the wedding they'd get the message that I was done. But no, the moment the dust started settling, the begging began. First, it was Erica, then Lisa, and eventually, even Greg decided to throw his hat into the ring. Let me tell you, watching them scramble was equal parts satisfying and pathetic. It started with Erica. A few days after I pulled the plug, she texted me. No apology, no acknowledgement of how things had played out. Just straight to the guilt trip. "I don't understand why you're punishing me. I just wanted my dad involved in my wedding. Can't you be happy for me?" I stared at my phone, trying to decide if it was worth replying. Punishing her? Seriously? I was the one who had paid for her entire lifestyle, and now I was punishing her? Yeah, no, I didn't bother replying. I wasn't in the mood for a back and forth where I'd be painted as the bad guy no matter what I said. A few hours later, she tried again. "Can we please talk about this? You're making everything so stressful for me. This is supposed to be the happiest time of my life." Stressful? Oh, now she was stressed. Again, I ignored her. If she wanted to talk, she could start by acknowledging her role in all of this. But of course that never happened. The next day, Lisa decided to chime in. She cornered me in the kitchen while I was making coffee, her arms crossed and her face set in that familiar "I'm right, and you're wrong" expression she's perfected over the years. "We need to talk," she said. I sighed. "About what?" "You know what?" she snapped. "You're ruining Erica's wedding. Do you have any idea how upset she is? She's been crying nonstop since you canceled everything." "Good," I said flatly. "Maybe she'll finally appreciate everything I've done for her." Lisa looked at me like I'd just grown a second head. "You can't be serious. You're acting like a child. This isn't about you." "And yet," I said, leaning against the counter, I was the one paying, so yeah, it is about me. That set her off. She launched into this long-winded rant about how I was being selfish, how I was letting my pride ruin what should have been a happy occasion, and how I was tearing the family apart. I let her go on for a bit, mostly because I wanted to see how far she'd take it. But when she started crying, yes, the crocodile tears made an appearance, I cut her off. Lisa, let me ask you something, I said, keeping my voice calm. Where was this energy when Erica decided to write me out of the wedding? She opened her mouth to respond, but I held up a hand. No, don't answer, because we both know the truth. You didn't care then, and you don't care now. All you care about is me paying for the wedding so you and Erica can keep pretending Greg is some amazing dad. She didn't say anything. She just stared at me, her face a mix of anger and something that almost looked like guilt. Almost. I'm done, I said, turning back to my coffee. You want a wedding? Figure it out yourselves as a family. Lisa stormed out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind her. I figured that would be the end of it, but I underestimated just how desperate they were. A day later, Greg called. Yes, Greg decided to weigh in. When I saw his name pop up on my phone, I almost didn't answer, but out of curiosity, I picked up. Hello? Hey, man, he said, his voice annoyingly casual, like we were old buddies. Listen, I heard about what happened, and I just wanted to talk. About what? I asked, already annoyed. Well, about the wedding, he said. Look, I get that you're upset, but don't you think you're overreacting a bit? I actually laughed. Overreacting? Greg, you've been a dad in name only for 20 years, and now you're telling me how I should feel? He ignored that and kept going. I know I haven't been as involved as I could have been, but this isn't about us. It's about Erica. She's devastated, man. Can't you just let it go for her sake? Let it go? The audacity of this guy. I'd spent years cleaning up his messes, and now he had the nerve to tell me to let it go. Greg, let me make something clear, I said, my voice steady. You wanted to play dad? Great. Step up and be a dad for once. Otherwise, don't bother calling me again. There was a long pause on the other end, and for a moment, I thought he might actually step up. But no, of course not. Instead, he muttered something about doing my best and hung up. Typical. The final act in this circus came a few days later when Erica showed up at the house. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days, but I wasn't about to let that guilt me into caving. I just don't understand why you're doing this, she said, her voice trembling. You've always been there for me. Why are you turning your back on me now? I crossed my arms and looked at her. Erica, let me ask you something. When you decided to write me out of your wedding, no mention in the invites, no father-daughter dance, nothing, did you ever stop to think about how that would make me feel? She didn't answer. She just looked down at her hands, fidgeting with the strap of her purse. I tried so hard with all I could to be a father to you, I continued. I've wanted to make sure you live the best life. And yet, when it really mattered, you chose Greg. That's okay. It's up to you. But don't expect anything from me. She started crying, but I didn't budge. I'd given her every opportunity to make things right, and she'd chosen to ignore them. This was the bed she'd made, and now she had to lie in it. When she left, I felt a weird mix of emotions. Part of me was sad. It's not easy to watch someone you care about walk out of your life. But mostly, I felt relieved. It didn't take long after the begging tour for the final blow to land. I thought they might finally get the hint after Erica's meltdown at the house, but nope, they weren't done yet. If anything, the silence that followed felt more like the calm before the storm. A week passed without a word from Lisa, Erica, or Greg. Honestly, I thought it was over. I started settling into my new normal, working, relaxing, and enjoying the peace that came from not dealing with their drama every day. But, of course, that couldn't last. One Thursday afternoon, I was at work, going over some documents, when my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but something made me glance at the screen. The number wasn't saved in my contacts, but it looked vaguely familiar. Against my better judgment, I picked up. Hello? Hey, it's Greg. Of course it was Greg. I leaned back in my chair, already bracing for whatever nonsense he was about to throw at me. What do you want, Greg? Look, man, he started, his voice overly casual. I know things have been rough lately, and I hate to be the one to bring this up, but we've got a problem. We? I said, raising an eyebrow. What's this we you're talking about? There was a pause on the other end, and I could almost hear the wheels turning in his head. Look, I get it, he said finally, but the thing is, I can't afford it. Erica and Lisa are counting on you. Not my problem, I said bluntly. He started to argue, but I hung up before he could get another word in. I didn't have time for his nonsense, and honestly, I had already wasted enough of my life cleaning up after him. That night, Lisa decided it was her turn to make a last-ditch effort. I was in the living room, flipping through channels, when she walked in, holding a letter. Her face was tight, like she was trying to hold it together. "What's that?" I asked, not even looking up. "It's from Erica," she said quietly. "She asked me to give it to you." I glanced at the envelope but didn't move to take it. "What does she want now?" "She's sorry," Lisa said, sitting down on the couch across from me. "She knows she hurt you, and she wants to make things right." I raised an eyebrow. "Does she?" Because the last time I checked, her idea of making things right was asking me to pay for a wedding I've been cut out of. Lisa sighed, her shoulders slumping. "Can you just read it, please?" Reluctantly, I took the envelope and opened it. The letter was handwritten, which surprised me. I figured Erica would just text me again, but I guess she thought this would feel more personal. The letter was long, too long, honestly, and full of the usual excuses. "I'm sorry if I made you feel like you weren't part of the family. I didn't mean to exclude you. I just wanted to honor my dad. This wedding means everything to me, and I can't do it without your help." It was the same nonsense I'd heard 100 times before, just dressed up in fancier words. Nowhere in that letter did she take real responsibility for how she treated me. Nowhere did she acknowledge that I'd been the one supporting her all these years while Greg coasted. It was just another attempt to guilt me into caving. When I finished reading, I set the letter down and looked at Lisa. If this is her idea of an apology, she's got a lot to learn. "She's trying," Lisa said weakly. "She just wants her wedding back." "Well, she can keep wanting," I said, standing up. "And if you think I'm going to change my mind, you're wasting your time." Lisa didn't argue. She just sat there, staring at the floor. For a moment, I almost felt bad for her. But then I remembered all the times she'd let Greg walk all over me. All the times she'd put his feelings and Erica's wants ahead of mine. Whatever sympathy I might have felt evaporated. The next day, I heard that the wedding was officially canceled. Erica had apparently tried to downsize, hoping Brian's family would step in to cover the costs, but they weren't having it. From what I heard, the whole thing turned into a massive fight, and Brian's parents pulled their support entirely. Lisa moved out a week later, taking whatever little she could carry. Thanks to the prenup, I could go on with the divorce without her getting a dime out of me. I changed the locks, cleared out the joint accounts, and started rebuilding my life. I blocked them from everywhere. I don't want anything that ties me to this nonsense family. Let Greg handle their drama. I was done, and let me tell you, it felt amazing.